Good evening. It is a Popcast after dark. I figured I'd keep the main light off to help set the mood. Definitely gonna wear the glasses this episode though, so I don't want to burn my eyes out before I go to bed. I thought I'm going to bed after this, but vapor. Stop trying to bring people over to your cult. Alright? Nobody likes trigger fizz zones. We know it's a Ponzi scheme. We know you're just trying to bring in people. And then trick them like that. By the way, I'm watching... If you guys aren't right now, I know some of you are in chat are also watching the Friday Night Frenzy. I guess this is the final game. Squid Killer's out here with a Destiny troop. But wait, both teams got a Hydra. It's like, Squid Killer's out here got a DT comp. Hello, Fern, Tux, Matthew Mega, Old Corona Beer, Valorock. Poor Valorock. Hey, I would have picked Rolling Squids to win that one as well. It's alright though. Epic Pikachu, welcome. I was curious how many people would be coming out for a almost midnight episode. But I guess you guys are restless because of Low Ink tomorrow. We'll see. How you guys doing tonight? Poor Hive. Soy Bowen! You have been here live before. Maybe not at this time. Yeah, a lot of you I'm not familiar with seeing in chat live. But then again, this is probably going on while some of you are at school or at work. None of you are at school at 11 o'clock Eastern time. Or Eastern Daylight Time, I should say. And, Hopefully none of you are at work. This is probably the only episode of the Popcast where like nobody in Europe is going to be watching. on a typical episode of the Popcast, Europe makes up like 25% of my live audience, according to the Twitch stats or whatever. But that's not going to be the case today. Although maybe Australia this would be a perfect time if you're in Australia to watch the podcast. Nobody in Australia likes me though, because I never picked them to win. The Tonight Cast. I don't have any special guests. Who's Michael Reeves? I don't know who that is. Vapor, please don't bully anybody. I don't think any of my bots are awake. Miss Popgun is downstairs watching Outlanders or whatever. No, Vapor. No, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't disrespect the intelligence of my audience by bringing you one to talk about what I know you're trying to talk about. That's like me trying to get a flat earther on here. Like that's so disrespectful to the intelligence of my audience. Sip. Gonna go tell someone to sleep? Who are you gonna tell to sleep? You told someone to sleep. Yeah, I get the sense that anybody who stays up late to watch the Popcast to figure out what their top 10 placement isn't going to do well tomorrow. Or isn't going to wake up in time. $50 that Crimson Quake isn't on the list. Hello, Falco Flyer and friends. Thanks for the raid, and welcome in everybody that was watching Five Nights at Falco's FNF. Macaharia. You know, I should actually figure out how that team's pronounced, because we play them a lot, or at least we did. I think we played them like 3 times in tournaments, and we haven't played hardly any tournaments this year. But whenever we do, we always go up against them for some reason. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you are begging Lowing staff to let you into the tournament since you missed registration, performing calculus to determine what time the tournament starts on Saturday in your time zone, burning your bracket because Kentucky frickin' lost to some school I'm pretty sure just got made up yesterday. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. Good evening and welcome to a 11 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time episode of the Popcast. I guess I shouldn't be too loud. There is a Miss Popgun. Eventually is going to be sleeping just a few rooms away. I don't know. I honestly, I could have done it this morning at the usual time, 12 p.m. Eastern time. But then I was also like, what if I just did like a crazy late episode just to see what would happen? Honestly, I'm just doing this to see what would happen. And some of you don't get to watch this live, which is great because you get the experience of me not paying attention to you in chat live, just like you would if you were watching this on YouTube. So there's no real difference, honestly, between the both. However, there is a new thing I am trying to do here. If you want to leave a message in chat that you want me to actually acknowledge, because I don't do the best job of acknowledging chat live, highlight it. If you have enough channel points to leave a highlighted message, which if you're Riley, you probably have more channel points than you know what to do with here. Leave a highlighted message. I will acknowledge it at the end of whatever current segment that I'm on. We'll go back and we'll run through there. Hi, Tugboat. I'm not your dad. And of course, it sucks for the YouTube chat because they don't see all these things that are highlighted. You hate low ink? All right, I already regret. I forgot that I don't really care what you guys have to say about anything, so moving on. Hey, welcome everybody from the Falco stream. I when I thought about doing it late, I was like, I'll just do it at 9. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't want to compete against my old pal Falco. So I waited a little bit later to make sure that this was over. I wasn't like in plan of like, oh, they're gonna raid me. But appreciate you guys raiding anyways. And I'll make sure that actually I was going to try to reach out to be available this time around, but you didn't reach out for commentators. You were already loaded. Already kind of loaded there on commentators, but I'll be around at some point. I'll get me on there. Much better than that brush dude, who does honestly, seeing Brush's face does kind of look like a me at half my age that I'm at right now, which is what Brush is. Brush is literally half my age. And I did have hair back then, not as poofy, but I did have a lot of hair back then too. So this is what you got to look forward to, Brush. It's coming for you, buddy. I got no news. Normally this is where I like, here's the tournaments that are coming up. There are no tournaments that are coming up between now and the next episode of the Popcast that you can register for or that I really care to talk about. Instead, we have Low Ink that is going on this weekend. And guess what? You can't register for it. If you missed registration, it's already gone, baby. You can't go back and get it. You're stuck. It's gone. You can't even apply to be a sub right now. It's over. What the teams we got, we are locked in. And we're not changing anything. Some of you are going to try to change your names and you're going to screw yourselves over because it's not really going to change on Battlefy. And then you're going to roll into your match and your name is supposed to be Joey and you're rolling in with your mom LeMayo. And then somebody's going to ping us and be like, they don't got the right name. And then you're going to be like, oh, change it on Battlefy. And we're going to be like, you lose game one. So you guys are going to try to change stuff tonight and it's going to screw yourselves over. Don't touch anything on Battlefy. Unless you need a sub, but then, obviously don't get a sub from our actual channel. I'm really glad that we don't, we used to take registration up until an hour before the tournament closed. And you would get so many teams that would sign up in that last hour. And so many of them were obviously Smurfs that were just like, oh, we can sign up because they're not going to take the time to check all of this stuff. We didn't, so we ended up just kicking everybody else that signed up late, and we're like, why are we doing this? So I'm a big fan of us signing up late. There's still some stuff I got to do. I've been working, and some of you in chat have been DM'd by me over the course of the day. I usually got to DM a lot of people on Friday, and I still got some open DMs. I don't think they'll do the ping or whatever. I don't think you guys will actually hear a ping. But if I look away, actually, no, I'm not going to worry about it. I can deal with that stuff afterwards, but there is still some clerical work that needs to be done. And by golly, we are going to get it done maybe in the morning, but still, I'm a big fan that we close registration at 8:00 Eastern Daylight Time on Friday. Today, we're going to be previewing Low Ink. We're going to be talking about a ton of different teams that have signed up for this tournament. And my top 10. Fair warning, this is probably one of the more predictable top 10s. Probably in number 8, probably in number 7 on down. It's probably going to look very similar to what a lot of other people will have in their top 10s for this Low Ink. But we'll do it anyways. Maybe not the order is something you guys are interested in, but we will look at that anyways. All that and more. But first, we are 1 year removed from one of the most iconic moments, not just in Low Ink history, but in the history of competitive Splatoon. All you got to do is say the words, "the incident," and everybody knows what you're talking about. It's not that meme where it's people who know and then the people who actually know. No, everybody actually knows what the incident is. And it's weird to think that that was a year ago, and not a year ago today. I believe the actual date anniversary is Monday, because it was the Sunday of last Low Ink. So I think this upcoming Monday is the actual 1 year anniversary of said incident. But this is the Low Ink month. This is when you say Low Ink March 2021. What's the first thing you think of? Well, hopefully this tournament will give us something else amazing that's going to happen that will make you just think, oh, March is just a cool month in general. But March 2021 is one of the most iconic tournaments in the entire scene, regardless of what the skill level was. To celebrate it, I wanted to kind of go back in and rewatch it to some extent and kind of give you guys a little bit more of an in-depth explanation as to what exactly happened there behind the scenes. I did, obviously, when I did my Low Ink recap episode about a year ago, where I was just like talking live. Like I only had like 16, maybe 12 hours to kind of process what I just saw, not just the incident, but the bracket, the phantom bracket of Red Sun versus Twisted Time right after that. Like that was like that Popcast recap episode was just so raw and just so much more initial reaction to what it was. And I was like, listen back to that episode and I'm just like, man, I wish I did like more of a showed the video, pause, like explain what happened at this moment, like what we knew at the time and like how we're figuring things out as they go along. So let's do that. Let's take an actual look at what happened on March 2021 in Low Ink. Look, I already got it queued up here. So some context. Twisted Time had just DC'd the game, this very game before. And that was the theme throughout the entire tournament, is that Twisted Time and Red Sun Red Sun to a lot of extent, we're constantly DCing this whole time. So we're here, we're in the reset of this game. Twisted Time has the lead, they're riding tower, and Magic is commentating with me, and he's saying something about how this Hydra is doing a good job of pushing some players into their own spawn. And little did we realize at the time is like, oh wait, it's not the Hydra that's pushing them into spawn, is it?
And not letting them go.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
Wait,
What?
And that's still my favorite part, is Eevee just trying to bash Heaven in the face with a carbon roller and absolutely nothing happening right there. But yeah, just all four of them lined up is what we see. And you heard me, I was saying, I wish the Hydra, what I was going to say was, I wish the Hydra would get up on that right stack area and start defending that stack for the second checkpoint. But then I just see this and I just go, what?
So confused right now. What in the world, dude? What is
DC
this?
together? It must have been.
I like how Magic figured out what this was so quick. Like you just go back and listen, and Magic's just like, oh,
Dragon's Wave in the same area and not letting them go.
And I didn't catch it.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
Wait,
What? I am so confused right now. What in the world, dude? What is
DC
this?
together? It must have been a combination DC.
I can't. No, I'm so.
Yeah,
what
I don't
happened
believe
there?
it.
They
Was
all
that like?
DC at the same time. That had to have
Yeah,
been intentional.
Yeah, but who? Is this like a lobby issue? Like we didn't.
Yeah, so like my first initial thought is that like whoever was hosting somehow was just like broken, and that's what caused that DC to happen. Because it was like, why I never seen a team intentionally DC like that. But Magic was so quick. You heard Magic's like, they intentionally disconnected right there. It's like, he was right. He was dead right at the time. We don't know why. Like, we had no idea why.
We didn't DC. I've never seen this.
Now, here's the interesting thing. You're going to hear Magic start laughing in a minute, and you guys aren't going to know why. But I'll explain why in a second.
I'm genuinely.
Give the game to Twisted Time?
I'm genuinely lost right now.
Did they just give away the game?
Here.
Oh!
So let me explain why Magic is laughing. So when you're streaming, when you're commentating, you're not the one actually streaming. You have a streamer or a producer, if you want to call him that, in stream. We've had the same streamer since before I started commentating low inks, like before April 2020. Ink Fair, who does a fantastic job, is by far my favorite streamer to be a part of. There's almost been a point where it's like, if I'm involved in a stream and Ink Fair isn't the streamer, where it's like, this sucks. Because Ink Fair also does like the doesn't do auto cam, does the spec cam. When we see something crazy going on in low ink, that's because Ink Fair saw it and got to it right before it happened. Fantastic dude. But anyways, he'll talk to us occasionally, like every now and then he'll tell us stuff, and you guys, the audience, can't hear it, but we do. So what we heard was Ink Fair saying is they said that they dropped. So it's so hard to get that right.
We didn't DC. I've never seen this. I'm genuinely,
but you guys don't hear
Game
that.
to Twisted Time?
All you hear is
I'm
magic.
genuinely lost right now.
Did they just give away the game?
We're listening right now.
Oh!
Hold on. We're gonna do some.
So I heard the same thing Magic did, but I didn't believe it because I didn't see them talking about that. So I was just like, okay, no. I want to figure this out first off.
Investigations here. They're not in the lobby. We've gone back to the lobby here, and it's just Twisted Time and our producer. They dropped from the tournament?
So that's how the audience first found out that the drop happened. Inky goes back and said, no, they dropped. And that's when I'm like, they dropped from the tournament?
Is that what you're saying?
So that's it. That's how you guys found out. That you guys, the audience, was just as confused as everybody else. But the way it was announced to the world that the Dragons were dropping from the tournament was me just saying, they're dropping from the tournament? Is that what you said? And then it just, I mean, we all know what happens from there. But that's kind of an example. That's bad commentating on my part. But on the flip side, I had no idea what was going on. I've never been in a situation like this. I've never seen a DC happen, an intentional DC of an entire team before. So I was more confused, and I was willing to believe that that's not what happened, that it wasn't intentional. But Magic understood everything immediately and just was right on it with there. I don't think there's anything else in particular, but I wanted to kind of explain that. If anybody goes back and they just hear Magic just start laughing and me just being like, no, that's what's going on. You guys don't hear it, but we found out long before anybody else. What's also kind of interesting is, what kind of sucks is that chat is gone. And what was so cool about this moment, what made it so iconic, I guess, was the fact that from the point where they line up to the point to where game one between Red Sun and Twisted Time starts, the chat doesn't stop. It just goes crazy for like a solid 10 minutes or so. And keep in mind, behind the scenes, and I'm not going to like go through, like Magic and I are just stalling because we don't know what the hell's going on. And this was before I was a head TO. I was just a commentator and a staff member at this point. So we're just sitting here, just watching, just waiting, just stalling for something to happen. And then JPEG just joins the VC and he's just like, oh, we're bringing in Red Sun and we're just going to start all over. And we're just like, oh, okay. Like with that, that was the first Magic and I had heard of it. Like we didn't even hear anything because like I wasn't paying attention to the chat and it wasn't even my call to make at the time either. But still, that was incredible. That whole sequence was just really incredible. And what makes it even better is the set that happened after that. When Red Sun came back and they played that Phantom set, as I kept calling it, it was so awesome and dramatic and just came down to the wire, and you could tell that both teams were just throwing everything they had at the video game and didn't have anything left. And people on both sides were leaving. It was going on so long that you had players leave the tournament because they had to like go to work or they had prior commitments or something. So like both sides were just slowly losing players until they only had 4 left. And it was just throwing out the 4 bodies that they had to go out there and play. Now, if you were to look at this new feature, the Hall of Fame that from the website that JPEG was able to create, you can see Red Sun and Twisted Time actually are considered tied for this tournament. If you listen to the recap episode of that Popcast, I made the claim that Twisted Time should be the standalone team because they technically won when the Dragons dropped, and what happened here was just an exhibition match. But still, it is officially a tie. The Dragons got second place. Resilience, who was in 4th, showed up and was able to bump up to 3rd here. And actually, I'll put this in chat if you want to take a look at this website too, because it's got everything dating back from the very first Low Ink to the most recent one. People are kind of pointing out there's only 3 teams in December. Now, the incident itself, that's never going to happen again. It's that we have put measures in place to make sure that there will never be an incident again. I think part of the issue now, the reason they intentionally disconnected there was because that team was in Germany and it was so late in the day for them that I guess they just had to go to school tomorrow and their parents kicked them off, told them to go to bed. And I think the time change I think they said the time change was part of the issue there. And I don't really understand. It's now the United States had their time change the week before that Low Ink, just like this one. And obviously there's tons of people that are confused about what time the tournament starts. It's understandable, even though we've made it as clear as freaking possible. But if it's the time change, doesn't the tournament technically start earlier for everyone in Europe this time around than what it normally would? Because it's still like 1 p.m. Eastern time. Isn't that still a little bit earlier, like an hour earlier? My thought was, it's an hour later for them, but that doesn't make any sense at all. So the time change should have helped the Dragons, shouldn't it, instead of hurt them? I don't really get that narrative, but I mean, obviously timing is an issue for any tournament that we have in March, except for next year. The year after that, because the Senate just approved unanimously to keep daylight savings times permanent. But you're not going to see this again. Dropping from a grand finals, that's a big deal. And we were not happy when the incident took place. We were not behind the scenes. Once we found out what happened, we were not happy about it at all. Because, I mean, Low Ink grand finals, you're going to have about 300 people watching it live. This is the biggest monthly event in the entire scene outside of Japan. And you can't just take that kind of audience and be like, there's nothing. We're done. The other team quit. Bye. Let's go raid, dude. Go watch that. Yes. You have to have something there to some extent. So, but again, at this point, if a team were to do that again, yes, there would be a lot of consequences for that team. But you're not really going to see that again. You're not going to see the Red Sun versus Twisted Time thing ever again. That bringing back Red Sun to play that match on stream, that was a one-time thing. And JPEG has been very vocal about, like, that was cool. That I'm glad we went back and did it. But if that situation happened again, we're just ending the stream. It's over. And I think some people, I think that might have been a little bit of why people were upset about how the tournament ended last month with the DC happening in Game 5. And the rules stated that that game had to count, which of course it should have, but it's not the sexy dramatic finish to a tournament that we're kind of used to seeing from Low Ink. And I feel like people in chat thought, well, if we just give them a replay over and over, like we'd said, get Red Sun in there, that they were going to do the replay. And that's not the case. We're much more sticklers to the rules than we have been in the past. And maybe that doesn't make the most unbelievable moments in Low Ink. But I do want to point something out. The only way that that grand final set between Twisted Time and Red Sun happens is if Twisted Time agrees to it. And they did. They wanted it. They didn't want to win the way that that tournament ended out. Not everybody's going to be like Twisted Time, but Twisted Time agreed to it. They said, we want to play Red Sun again. And that's what you got. You got an awesome set out of it. So yeah, the singular moment didn't put Lowink on the map. Lowink was already a well-known, established tournament before then. But it definitely it was one of the first times where the entire scene was talking about it. Out of tournaments that are on the IPL page, it's the most viewed tournament. The videos that have more views than it are the counterpick rules explanation and probably JPEG reading out the rules. But as far as just tournaments on IPL's page, it's got more views than all the other ones. Like, blows them out of the water. It's the most. It's. I believe it's still the most viewed clip on our Twitch. It's just the most iconic thing you can think of. So, to Red Sun, Twisted Time, and Dynasty Dragon Waves, who are now known as Sanctum, and is probably is better than all those teams now, considering they won High Inc. at the end of the year. Happy 1 year anniversary to a moment that we will never forget. The beautiful mess that was known as the incident. And now, look back over what you weirdos said with the highlighted. What is your real name and location and IP? No thanks. Thank you, Heart. You're welcome. This was a mistake, says TNT. Yeah, I already figured that out. Social security number. I wasn't born on this planet, so I don't have one. Not necessarily the biggest Popcast fan, more so just the person with the least amount of stuff going on Monday mornings and Friday nights, apparently. So I appreciate you anyways. Riley. Zones Minnow? What? Didn't I already do an episode on that? What more do you want to talk about? Twilight Anglers are still eligible for low ink. They won low ink before the ban happened. Before we started banning teams. I wasn't around then. Before they started banning teams for winning low ink. And Twilight Anglers did play in a lot of tournaments in 2020 and 2021. I don't know if they're still a team or not, but technically they can become the only team to ever win low ink 2 times in a row. The other teams that have won low ink in that time span are all they've all gone on to be banned, like Szechuan Chai Tea. I believe they were Div 2 at one point. Team E, I forget who those guys actually are. Jub from the Wiggly Phantoms knows who they are because she DM'd me about them when I talked about them before. But yeah, all those other teams are just naturally banned from low ink just because they got so many results otherwise. But yeah, the Twilight Anglers, technically, if they were to come back and try to win, they could be the first team ever to win it twice. And the only team ever that would be allowed to do that. Speaking of, I guess not the Twilight Anglers because they're not in this tournament. Let's talk about teams that actually are in this tournament. Fast forward, I know our minds were in the March incident. Let's fast forward our brains to the current team signed up. And again, if you have a message you want me to actually pay attention to, leave a highlighted message in chat and I'll go back and look at it. The official number of teams that have signed up for this tournament, and this is weird. I've never done a preview after registration closes. It's always like, oh, here's how many teams I expect to sign up forever. No, we have actual numbers right here. The official number right now is 74. Now, that number is going to go down. There's going to be people that drop tomorrow morning. There's probably going to be some people we look at that signed up late and be like, hey, you're too good for this tournament, and you didn't give us any time to verify you. Get out. So that number is going to go down by the time we start. But as of right now, we are at 74. We take those. Of those 74 teams, let's talk about a few of them. Starting off, with everybody's favorite team, Blue Moon. They're here. They're back. They dropped at the very start of the tournament last month, but then announced and said, we're sorry, we're going to come back. We'll be back next month, 100% guaranteed. And they did. They came back. Or at least for now. They had to get a sub last minute. But they are going to be back. Now, there's something I want to point out. Blue Moon has been kind of vocal about not being on stream. I am the person who picks matches that go on stream. And I'll say this. If somebody is vocal about saying, I don't want to be on stream, I'm not going to put you on stream. There was a time in 2021 where Destiny Troops was on stream for 6 of the first 7 tournaments we played in a row. And it wasn't like because, well, some of them were because we were in Top Cut and it was just our turn to be streamed. But so many of them were, oh, let's just put Destiny Troops on during like the Swiss or the group stage or something like that. And it annoyed the snot out of us to where we finally just were like, stop putting us on stream. Like we were like aggressively telling TOs like, why are you putting us on stream again? Please stop. So ever since then, whenever a team has been kind of vocal like, hey, don't put us on stream, I sympathize with that, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to respect that. So we're not going to put Blue Moon on, but if it comes down to a Top Cut stage where we have to put them on, oh yeah, we're going to go out of our way to put them on there. They're a fun team to watch. They're a fun team in general. You got 2 of the Splat-A-Lots here. 2 of like the 6 Splat-A-Lots that are coming on here. You got Splat-A-Lot A and Splat-A-Lot B that are signed up for this tournament. Where C and D and E and F and G, I don't know. They're just not here. But Splat-A-Lot A and Splat-A-Lot B are. I don't know really how to distinguish these teams from each other. I don't know how often we have like one of the Splat-A-Lot teams on stream. Obviously, A is better than B. But I think it's been a while since we had a couple of Splat-A-Lots here. It's good to see them show their beautiful faces around. They're a team that's pushing Ocean 7 to have more teams than their umbrella, it seems like. Freelancing Takoyaki. I don't know what that is. But this team made Alpha Bracket last time they played in January. So not good enough to be in the top 10, but good enough to where I should probably mention them at some point there. Freelancing Takoyaki. This team they're just called Pickup. Now, this is not to be confused with the team called Pickup that finished third in the entire tournament last month. No, this is a completely different team with completely different players that just happens to also be called Pickup. You know what's frustrating about calling yourselves Pickup? If you look at that Hall of Fame thing, they're just going to look at this February 2022 third place, and it just says Pickup. And it means nothing. You have no idea who those players are. You're not going to care. It means absolutely nothing. So you guys are going to hear this first. We have already decided we're going to make a rule change for the next Low Ink. Breaking news. After this Low Ink, we are banning the team name Pickup. You are not allowed to just call yourself Pickup in Low Inks going forward after this one. We will ask you to change it, and if you don't change it, we will change it to something else. What if you spell it differently? Stop. Quit trying to work your ways around the rules. So we are banning the team name Pickup. So enjoy this team while they're here. We always like to give shout outs to new teams or teams coming over from the Nintendo tournaments because we got a couple of them here. First off, you got Splasiety. I think it's pronounced Splasiety. That just now clicked with me. I thought I was going to call them Splacity, but that doesn't make any sense. I believe it's called Splasiety. Coming over from the NA Open. The Sunken Scrolls making their first appearance. I believe they signed Splasiety. We're going to put them on stream. I'm going to wait till the commentators I don't like are streaming, and we're going to put Splasity on there just to hear them screw that up. But Sunken Scrolls also here. And also SDS played in NA Open, playing in their first Low Ink. SDS, that is your safety data sheets. for like hazardous materials. For those of you who don't work in any kind of building, if you get like Windex, you need to have the SDS or the MSDS. So like in case one of your employees just opens that bottle of Windex and just like takes a shower with it, you can look up like the here you need to go to the hospital right now. It says here right there. So a weird name to call yourself for a Splatoon team, but SDS, so be it. Sleeping accommodation. This is Inkception. Get it? Inkception. They just rebranded to sleeping accommodation. I guess that kind of makes sense. I mean, it's literally Inkception. Literally all of those players are one Inkception. I don't know why they changed their name. But maybe they just wanted to get ink out of their name and went with this monstrous word, or just a massive amount of characters here. Sleeping accommodation. After we forced GooTuber to change their name to just GooTuber instead of that omnipotent Gex Work Machine whatever nonsense, sleeping accommodation might have the most characters in their name in this tournament. Vaporwave. Hey, we haven't seen these guys in a while. Vaporwave is back. The last time they played Low Ink was December of last year. They took a few months off, and now they're back. Welcome back, Vaporwave. Alpha bracket this time around? Maybe? Question mark. Who knows? Hidden Radiance of the Dawn. Not to be confused with Hidden Radiance of the Twilight, who disbanded, and it was just Hidden Radiance of the Dawn, but Hidden Radiance of the Twilight came back, and now Dawn was better than Twilight, but now it seems like Twilight is better than Dawn. That doesn't really matter here because Dawn is here and Twilight is not. Did you get all of that? Okay. Chronic Skill Issues, or CSI. Who is Chronic Skill Issue? It is the team that won the casual bracket of the Reddit tournament. I announced this back in January because they signed up for the January Low Ink and they didn't play in it. They didn't check in. I don't even know if they're in the server, if they know they need to be in the server. But Chronic Skill Issues signed up again. Maybe they'll actually play this time around. I'm genuinely curious how good they are because they won the casual bracket, but does that mean they were just like competitive, or like did they, like how good are they really against actual competitive players? That's what I want to see. Genuinely curious to see this team. I hope they play for real. The glitter gel pins. I hate this team already. I anything that's just glitter. Like glitter is just the dumbest thing ever. It just gets everywhere. If you spill it, you're just stuck with it in every crevice that you could imagine for all of eternity. And I'm not a big fan of pins that are like not black and blue ink. Like so, glitter gel pins. I'm not a big fan of this team. However, I know who they are. It's basically an Inkcraft Cult pickup. We have not seen Inkcraft Cult in action in a while, so it's good to see the players come back. But your team name triggers me. Ink or Swim. Not to be confused with Splatter Swim. This team had or Swim in their name long before Splatter Swim ever did. The beta bracket team from last time around. Beta bracket again would be huge for them. You want to see Ink or Swim eventually become an alpha bracket monster. They've been here for so long. Start taking that next step, Ink or Swim. Beta again would be nice. Infinity. This is a new team made up of players from the Villain Academy. Now, raise your hand if you remember a team called Villain Academy. They played in a lot of Little Squid Leagues, a lot of Low Inks, a lot of, I want to say, Ash Cups. For those of you who remember those Ash Cup tournaments. Now, it's not the same exact team. There's also some new players mixed in there, but the vast majority of the players are from Villain Academy. I think Infinity will be pretty good. I think they might be an alpha bracket contender in their first Low Ink. Apocalypse. This seems like an appropriate team name for where we are in the state of the world today. Did not play last month, but they played in January where they made alpha brackets. Let's keep an eye out for Apocalypse. I already forgot how to say this. Is this the blue glucosis? It's that disgusting alien creature slug thing that's in the ocean. Regardless, look, this team, they're good. They won Little Squid League. They won Gamma Bracket. They added a new player to their roster who seems to be pretty legitly good themselves. And has a lot of TikTok followers. Has some pretty cool videos on TikTok. But where here's the thing: when you win Little Squid League, those teams usually just go on and instantly make alpha bracket, right? I mean, if you win a gamma bracket, you can make the jump up to alpha bracket. Let's just see what they do on Saturday. But the blue Galusus is, maybe I could read their name a little bit better if it wasn't 11:38 at night. We'll see how good they actually do. But any LSL champ always has a little bit of an eyeball on them going forward. So they're usually pretty good. The Jelly Squids. I got to give them a shout out because they got Herbert on their roster. Coming out of retirement, at least for one tournament, it seems like. Them dusting off that Nautilus. Herbert's a big fan. We stan Herbert in St. K here on the Popcast. One of the few people who watches me that are actually older than me, which is weird considering most of you are babies in chat. But we like it when people are actually older than me so I can make old jokes about them. Is this the final team? No, I got a few more. Miku Gaming, Miku Gaming. This is a pickup with Jim B, Sakura from Rising Hope, and Miss Popgun. There we go. I mentioned it. I mentioned Miss Popgun. Some people have said he never talks about Miss Popgun teams. I just did, you losers. Miku Gaming. There you go. We said it. Don't come at me like that. Midnight Sun. That's not a thing. There's no such thing as a midnight sun. It's approaching midnight right now. I can look out my window. There ain't no sun out there. But these guys should be pretty good because they got a Snowfall player on their roster. By the way, Snowfall disbanded, so they're not going to be in the top 10 if you're wondering. But those players are still kind of sprinkled throughout this tournament. One of them on this Midnight Sun team, a Oxymoron team. Last but certainly not least, the name of this team is +1 anything but support. That is incorrect. The real name for this team should be +1 anything but anchor. And that's not because they have an anchor on their team. They're saying that because they don't want to play with an anchor player at all. They want to do quad shooter. So anything but support, I would assume that's because Airsign is on this team, Airsign and friends. So they don't really need a support. They just need a lot of slayers. So there you go. Miss Popgun will get it. If you say so. We did have a highlighted message. Epic Pikachu said probably play on a Sindow's team name. Because the name of the moat Sindow uses as a team name is called Sleeping Accommodation. What? Let me read that again. Play on Sindow's team name. Because the name of the emote Sindow uses as the team name is called Sleeping Accommodation. I thought it was just bed. I thought their team name was just bed. Because they use the bed emote. But I guess Sleeping Accommodation might be... I don't know. Maybe Inkception is more involved in what Sindow was up to than I am aware of. Yes. Thank you, Bowen. And I think that's all the teams I want to talk about. I mean, I could talk about all of you if I wanted to. Some of you I don't like, so I don't want to talk about it all. Then some of you I absolutely hate, but you're good enough where I got to put you in my top 10. Otherwise, people are going to think I start asking questions. JK, I love all of you. The Looney Squids are back. Sommerzite is back. Trivia Brand, I know they played last month. Tropical Turtles. You know, there was one low ink where we had like a team called the Turtles that had like we had a team that had 2 players with an IGN of Turtles, and they weren't on another team that was like called Turtles that was in that same one. Oh crap, I forgot. I missed that team in my top 10. Oops. Maybe I didn't look over this all that well. Red Pacific, that makes more sense than Midnight Sun. Of course, we got a team called Sunset. I wonder if Sunset and Red Pacific, if that's kind of just the same thing, if you think about it. Galaxy Squids, Dive. Honestly, I never really talk about Dive, but Dive with an exclamation point at the end, so it should be pronounced Dive. But I probably should start talking about them because they're like consistently making beta bracket, consistently doing pretty well. I guess I just don't really see them playing anything else other than low ink, so I don't really, not really crazy familiar with them. Intimidation Factor, love to see them in. Another one of those LSL teams, always buying for an alpha bracket spot. Illumini, always love to see those guys. Speaking of Illumini, or I guess not speaking of Illumini, but they just remind me, what happened to Kappa? Well, we haven't seen Kappa in a while, have we? Or the Ink Strike Inklings? It's been a while since we kept an eye on that one. Ink in the System, Indiglow. I usually talk about Indiglow on Mondays because they usually do something that's noteworthy for me to talk about them then. So maybe that's why I don't talk about them on Saturday or Fridays. But they always catch my attention on Mondays. Clownfish is back. Cephalo Shock. That is, we used to have a lot of cephalopod named teams, but we don't have. Now it's just Cephalo Shock. I'm kind of glad that went away. That trend went away. Jacques Crouton playing in this low ink here. And the last team to sign up, just barely missing the deadline, Delicious Nuggets. And of course, several other teams. Aim for the Knees. That is a brutal name for a team. Cap only has 3 members right now. You can borrow some members from Destiny Troops. I'll give you Haya for a stick of butter. BLT, that was not a good team name. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't anything special. All right. The moment you've been waiting for. The reason you are staying up late at night. The reason that you're avoiding going to bed where you should be to rest up for this low ink. You're staying up because you want to figure out where some 31-year-old dude who started losing his hair in high school thinks your team is going to finish in the top 10 here, even though we all know I'm always wrong. However, like 95% of the time, the team that wins low ink is mentioned in the top 10 at some point. It's very rare. I think Splatter Swim, okay, maybe not very rare, as I'm thinking. I didn't have Sleeping Seals either. But more often than not, the team that's going to win is going to appear in this top 10 at some point. So don't come at me like this is some sort of broken jank thing. But we'll start with the honorable mentions, and I got a lot here. First off, the Molly Whoppers. I put down Molly Whoopers, but that is incorrect. Why are they in the honorable mentions? Because they signed up super late. Like they signed up like right before the dead. They are the second to last team to sign up for this tournament. I probably wouldn't put them in the top 10 anyways because it's more of a pickup team. Now they've been playing consistently. I think this is their first time, and I think they make alpha bracket every single time, but not consistent enough for me to feel comfortable putting them over this very competitive top 10 that I got here. So Molly Whoopers, not good enough this time around. Acropora. I wanted to mention them to some extent. I don't really have much to say about them, but I saw that they added a former What You Egg player. For those of you long-time low ink veterans will remember What You Egg Woo. This would be Meerkat, I believe. I think they changed their IGN, but they were known as Meerkat at the time for What You Egg. Crimson Quake. Somebody bet in chat $50 that they weren't in my top 10. Correct. I do not have Crimson Quake in the top 10. I have them in the honorable mention slot. So if you want to pretend they're in the top 11, go right ahead. But they made alpha bracket last time. Nice. Do it again. Then we can start talking about top 10 stuff. It's incredible what you can do when you don't drop out of a tournament because you got to sweep your floors for like 6 hours. Amazing. Up the ante does not make the top 10. And I always say, this might be the time to put Up the Ante in there. But it's not. I'm sorry, Up the Ante. Second place in beta bracket last month. Always an alpha bracket contender. I want to put them in, but I can't justify it just yet. This is very loaded at the very top. Also a team I completely glanced over, but didn't put them in. I probably wouldn't put them in the top 10 anyways. Myopsidus. They peaked. Their peak was the Shark. The triple. You know what play I'm talking about. And if you don't, you're not paying attention. But we haven't really seen Myopsidus rise back up to the levels of where they were after that play. Literally after that play, it just kind of plateaued. We'd love to see Myopsidus get back up to that point, though. Maybe this will be the month that they do it. But there you go. If you want like an official, unofficial number 11, give it to Up the Ante. I mean, they're good, and I think they've added a new player recently, but it's just, I just can't justify it over these other teams that did make alpha bracket. Well, not all of them made alpha bracket, but who have been competing well in alpha brackets the past month. Yeah, I do believe Myopsidus has gone over a bit of a, not a reload, but a bit of a rebuild, but I'm sure once they get everything figured out, they'll be cookies and juice. And go forward here. Top 10 teams with one of these teams guaranteed to win the tournament. Number 10. Kind of like Up the Ante. I always come up with an excuse not to put Aquatic Vanguard in my top 10. Or I come up with an excuse to keep them out of my top 10. But now that Ink Bashers dropped, a spot has opened up in my top 10 for them. So I said, the hell, let's put them in there. I'm doing it. They made alpha bracket last month, and they don't always do crazy well on Sundays, even though they are consistently making alpha bracket, but they're capable of getting quality wins. So let's just put them in that. They're the new team, other than My Lag Paradise, who I took out of this spot. Let's put Aquatic Vanguard in this spot of the Unlimited Woomy United category. This is why I don't pay attention to chat. You guys are idiots. The Unlimited Woomy United category, where you're just going to float around. You're going to make alpha bracket. Sometimes you're going to make beta bracket. And then 1 month, it's just going to click and you're just going to pop off and you're just going to destroy everybody. Aquatic Vanguard has that potential. So consider them the current Uwu team, where you're just going to, out of nowhere, they're just going to start ripping apart alpha bracket. They got the capability of doing it. That's why they're in number 10 right now. Number 9. I haven't really talked about Blazing Storm much ever. And I probably should have, because these guys are pretty good. They have just flown underneath my radar, and probably a radar of a lot of other people. They finished second place in beta in January and made it to losers round 2 of alpha bracket last month. This team is getting some pretty good results. They're also one of the few teams to play in all 4 SAC tournaments this season, finishing with 101 points. Now, keep in mind, that doesn't mean they're better than teams that finish with 100 points or less. Literally, the team right below them with 100 points is Sirius. Blazing Storm is not better than Sirius. But my point here is that they are playing in a lot of tournaments outside of Low Ink and gaining a lot more experience. Usually that pays off into tournaments like Low Ink. I'll keep a better eye on this team going forward, because they have those results that show they deserve the attention that they're kind of getting. Number 8. I got a German team for you that I'm pretty sure I'm just going to butcher the mispronunciation of this. However, maybe that's the reason why I'm doing this podcast so late, is that Germany is asleep, and by the time they wake up, they'll be too ready, getting ready for Loic, that they won't check the VOD here. Horchen. Yikes. I'm sorry for butchering that. I have no idea how to pronounce it. It's EICHHORNCHEN. For those of you who are awake right now and are wondering who this team actually is, it's essentially Kind Plan, Kein Plan, the team that finished tied for 5th in Alpha Bracket last month. And if you're wondering who that team is, it's the same team that is essentially Emptiness that was making Alpha Brackets kind of consistently a couple of times back in 2021. It seems like they're playing on Low Inc more consistently now, and it's odd that they changed their name every other month, but they are not changing their skill level. This team is going to sneak up on a lot of people, and I'm sure most of you have already forgotten who I was talking about right now. I'm not going back. I'm not repeating it. Check the VOD, but look out for this team. You've been warned. Are we done with this page? Yeah. Number 7. Well, look what came fresh out of the oven of Beta Bracket. It's the delicious and nutritious Yummy Stars. One Gamma Bracket 2 months ago, Beta Bracket last month, has Alpha Bracket experience from past Low Incs, and on paper, they are one of the best teams on Sunday, regardless of where they finish up. The problem obviously being that they can't make it to Alpha Bracket because they've missed it 2 months in a row. Whatever issues they are having on Saturday, they need to get them figured out, or else they're going to have their 3rd month in a row where they're going to fail to make Alpha Bracket that they're supposed to be in, and then they spend another Sunday terrorizing teams that are well below them. We need to see this team make Alpha Bracket. We need to. But I believe eventually the Yume Stars will be the first team ever to win Gamma, Beta, and Alpha Bracket. No team can claim they've won all 3. Now, if you'd rather win Alpha Bracket than win any of those other brackets, but it'd be pretty cool to see a team win all 3 of them. Well, are they going to be the first team to win all 3 of them in consecutive months? Gamma, Beta next month, Alpha the month after that? I don't know. But they got the potential to do it. We need to see them make Alpha Bracket. They were tied with Kraken United as the number 1 team for the month of February in the lower level standings. Let's see it. Number 6. INKD didn't have the hottest of tournaments last month that they did in January, but it doesn't really matter. They went out in losers round 2. A disappointing result considering the month prior they went 6-0 in Swiss. It tied for 5th place in Alpha Bracket. So yes, it's a step backwards. But the good news is that they're consistently making Alpha Bracket, unlike the Yume Stars. They have shown the potential to pop off on Sunday as well. And you know that they're going to be in Alpha Bracket because you know that they figure out how to take care of business on Saturday. It's hard to justify them putting any higher right now considering the teams I have above them and how they did take a little bit of a step back the last month. But again, these guys are above that uwu category. You know they're going to pop off at some point. And you know they're going to consistently make Alpha Bracket. So they got to be in the top 10 somewhere. I feel like 6 is justifiable this time around. Number 5. Ocean 7 is continuing to take the next steps necessary to win this tournament. 2 months ago, they made a decent run in losers bracket. Last month, they went 6-0 in Swiss. And now that they have the experience of going 6-0, they now understand that it doesn't mean anything. They're no longer going to be excited about going 6-0. They're just going to be like, okay, we took care of business on Saturday. Cool. Now we got to figure out how to take care of business on Sunday, which they did do 2 months ago when they upsetted Kraken United in losers bracket. And if you can beat Kraken United, you can literally win this tournament because you can beat anybody. Now, can you beat 5 Alpha Bracket teams on Sunday? That's extremely difficult to do. And that's why I don't really care when somebody goes 6-0 on Saturday, because it's like, you do realize you've only played like 2, maybe 3 Alpha Bracket teams. Now you got to play 5 and beat them all. It's hard to do. But Ocean 7's making those steps. They're getting more experience. They're figuring out how to win this tournament. It's just a matter of time for them. Number 4. Heaven's Moonlight is glowing up right before our eyes. Last month, they went by Heaven's Infinity and shocked everybody when they finished tied for 5th place. Or maybe they didn't shock themselves. Maybe that's what they were expecting. But we all know what Heaven's Moonlight is capable of now. Getting to winner semifinals after beating My Lag Paradise and Little Timmy and the Splats, essentially Ink Sync, before My Lag was able to get revenge on them in losers bracket. But this is the type of story you root for in low ink. They started from the bottom, now they're here kind of team. I remember commentating a set they played against ITAP in a testing grounds many, many moons ago. I remember saying something like, these guys have not played in low ink, and I hope they play in low ink because that'd be a good tournament for them. Well, they did, and they've grown since then to be in one of these monster teams here. Look for them to go. They've gone from being a cute little team to an absolute monster. This is their first appearance in my top 10. I'm putting them right at number 4. This is where they belong. It's not Heaven's Infinity anymore. They're back to their original name, Heaven's Moonlight. These Squid Kids are pretty good. Number 3. I told y'all last month. Not your, but my Lag Paradise is legit. No longer a borderline team. They're no longer a uwu caliber team. They are legit contenders from here on out. I had my doubts in the past. They've made deep runs in Alpha Bracket a few months ago, after going 2-4 a few months ago before that. But I questioned the teams they faced in that Alpha Bracket, and then they fell back to Beta Bracket, which they won. But now they went back into Alpha Bracket, and they went all the way to 4th place. Having Kraken United backed up against the wall until they had no choice but to go all anime on them and pull out a miracle win and just flip the switch from there. I saw enough out of these squids to realize that they are the real deal. And by the way, all of the wins that My Lag Paradise got in that Alpha Bracket came in losers bracket. They lost in round 1, like I mentioned, to Heaven's Infinity, but then went on a tear, beating Crimson Quake, Inked, Ocean 7, and then got revenge against Heaven's Infinity before ultimately losing to Kraken Paradise. Kraken United. If My Lag can show up ready to go on Sunday and avoid being stuck in the losers bracket hell that they got put in before, they can make a podium spot this time around, somewhere in the top 3, just like they did in Minnow Cup. Just remember, I gave them the credit first. It's not your, it's my Lag Paradise. Number 2. I don't know what else to say about access denied at this point. And I feel like I've said that exact sentence before. Other than I don't really think they care about anything other than first place. I mean, why would they at this point? When you're about a half second away from winning this whole tournament like they were back in January, does it really matter what result you get unless it is first place? That's such a stressful way to go through day 2 tourney, loaded with teams that can beat you at any moment. And they didn't really survive Saturday the last time they played either. They went 4-2 and finished in 9th place of their Swiss group, only getting an Alpha Bracket because of drops. Now, that was 2 months ago, and they're coming off a 2nd place finish in the last Minnow Cup, so you can't say that they aren't coming into this low ink rusty after taking the last low ink off. But I feel there's just too much pressure on this team with all that's... it was too much pressure to kind of win it. Because if you just look at their roster, you would say, yeah, they're easily a top 2 team. You could argue that they're the number 1 team over the team we all know is number 1. But I think they just have the bigger target on their back than anybody in this tournament. And it's just going to be that way forever. That target's never going away. They are the most recognizable team in this tournament and always has been. So I can't justify them putting them at number 1. But if I'm being completely honest, I wouldn't mind seeing Access Denied win this one at some point. Or win some other tournament so we can ban them. Something got to give there. But at least for here, Access Denied still eligible, still at number 2. Number 1, and the team I'm predicting to win this upcoming Low Inc. The only team that can beat Kraken United is Kraken United. Wow, he's so deep. Well, yeah, it's true though. I mean, they didn't lose to anybody last month other than the team that won the whole tournament, Shiver Me Feeders. The only thing kind of holding them back was, well, this is one of these things, Ethernet cable or somebody's microwave going off at the right time, or somebody's little brother kicking a router at an unfortunate time or something like that. Now, Shiver Me Feeders did beat them straight up in winter semifinals. I think we kind of forget that. But winter semifinals, those two teams did play, and Shiver Me Feeders did beat them without any connection issues at all. But obviously Shiver Me Feeders is gone, and everyone else that came close can come close to beating Kraken my last month just couldn't really put them away. They refused to lose to Mylag Paradise when they should have. They took care of business against everybody else. They kind of won Minnow Cup, even though they were like 50% Legato too, but you know, most of those players were on that Minnow Cup roster with Rainmaker, which seems to be a strong mode for Access Denied, so they're not afraid to play Access Denied on one of their better modes as well. And this time around, just being straight up Kraken United with, I think, one sub they got from Snowfall. If they could avoid the microwaves during grand finals and deal with the pressure of literally everybody expecting them to win, then Kraken United is going to win. Now, the second place curse, Lois broke it, but I can say this. No North American team has ever finished second place and then won the Loic the month afterwards. You have to be in Australia to do that. So the second place curse is still alive and well in some parts of the world. But still, Kraken United, my number 1 team. As always, if you disagree with anything I said, if you feel like I undervalued your team or anything like that, just keep this in mind. 2 days from now, because it is Saturday where I'm living it, I will do my Monday recap episode of the Popcast. And anything I screwed up, which is probably going to be a lot of stuff, I offer apologies for. Now, if I put you at like number 5 and you win, I'm not going to offer you an apology. I'm predicting you to do really well, possibly win this tournament. But if I screwed up anything, come back and watch it on Monday. Prove me wrong this upcoming weekend. That's a weird goal for you to have, to prove me wrong, but hey, prove it to yourself how good you actually are. And a lot of you need to go to bed. So let's start tucking you guys in. If you'd like to be a part of the Popcast in any way, feel free to reach out to my socials below. Twitter at Mr_Popgun, Discord at Popgun, #5882, YouTube at 25Popgun, Twitch at Popgun25, Anchor.fm/Popgun, TikTok at Mr_Popgun. Those of you who have DM'd me because I have roster questions for you, thank you for being patient. I'll get with you maybe tomorrow. Maybe I'm not going to. No, I'll check out Help Desk and all that stuff. But hey, don't change your IGNs. Make sure your IGNs are correct. Don't add anybody to your roster. Don't do anything stupid. Please, JPEG's not here tomorrow or this weekend. It's just going to be me and the staff. Don't do stupid crap tomorrow. Like, don't do it. Let's go raid Barry. Have fun this okay, there it goes. Have fun this weekend. Good luck. I'll be commentating probably some of you on Sunday with special guest commentator.